Well, good morning once again on the Tuesday of Holy Week. We continue hearing the story of Jesus' final hours, in fact, from Matthew's Gospel. And today we're in chapter 26 from verses 57 to 75. As I said yesterday, again, we'll be reading this on Good Friday. And if you want to stop and read it now, please feel free. Chapter 26, verse 57 to 75. This is Jesus before the Jewish High Council and Peter's denial in the courtyard of the high priest. These famous, it's written. We've heard it so many times in our heart in different ways. This is about people, what people do to each other, what our world is like, and Jesus encountering that at the sharp end. And so we hear first of Jesus being taken by the people who'd arrested him into the home of Caiaphas the high priest, where the teachers of the religious law and elders had gathered. Darkness continues. It's not in public, it's hidden away in the high priest's house. No one apart from those they want to know this is happening, but it's serious stuff behind closed doors. And Peter, the other strand is Peter, who doesn't have the same darkness in his heart actually, but we'll come to that. It says, I love this line, Peter went in and sat with the guards in the high priest's courtyard and waited to see how it would all end. Waited to see how it would all end. His friend, his master, the one he'd followed, the one he believed was the Messiah, here he was, following to see how it would all end. What would come as a result of this? And then we hear some description of the attempts to find things to pin on Jesus. Distortions. Mark tells us that they couldn't get witnesses to agree. Matthew says they couldn't use anyone's testimony. The same sort of thing. Trying to get things to work against Jesus. And Jesus, of course, with immense integrity. They couldn't find. He just spoke truthfully, so they couldn't pin it on him. Even this business of destroying the temple of God and building it again in 3 days, they couldn't understand it anyway. So Jesus, as it says in one of the Gospels, he was speaking about his own death and resurrection. But the high priest stands up. Well, aren't you going to answer these charges? What do you have to say for yourself? And it's interesting. He demands in the name of the living God. It's the old word abjure. He says, speak the truth. In some way, the high priest recognizes that truth needs to be spoken. He may not like the truth when Jesus speaks it, as our come to now, but he does ask for the truth. Tell us, are you the Messiah, the Son of God? Jesus replies, you have said it. Mark records it as just him simply saying, I am. I've often worried about that, whether Jesus was sort of being not quite claiming it, but he makes it quite clear actually by quoting Daniel. I'll just read this bit from Daniel 7. As my vision continued that night, I saw someone like a son of man coming with the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient One and was led into his presence. He was given authority, honor, and sovereignty over all the nations of the world, so that people of every race and nation and language would obey him. His rule is eternal, it will never end. His kingdom will never be destroyed. This is what Jesus was claiming for himself. It was what the high priest expected of the Son of God. But who is this man before me? How can he possibly be the Son of God with that claim around him? But Jesus, there's lots of silence. We sing, don't we, about his silence. But he does utter these words. And at the heart, yes, Jesus is the Son of God. This one man, Jesus, says, "This is who I am." What kind of Son of God would this be? What is he bringing? What is his kingdom like? The high priest is he has asked for it, and this is what he's told. He doesn't know what to make of it. And they hated it, that this man, could be the Messiah. Totally different to what they were expecting. But at the heart, this is who Jesus is. And then, some spit at him, beat him with their fists, slap him round the face. They hate him, this man who claims to be the Messiah. One commentator I read, "It's an almost unbearable moment. The one who gives us freedom is bound. The one who took spittle and made it of a healing salve for the blind is spat upon with blind fury. The one who knows us intimately, who knows who we are far better than we ourselves do, is struck in the face by that lost violator who says, 'Who is it that struck you?' And yet Jesus knows who that tormentor is better than he knows himself. That abuser, drunk on violence, has forgotten himself, but Jesus knows and remembers. What does he do? Soon he speaks words of forgiveness from the cross. 'Father, forgive them. They know not what they do.' He values the lives of his enemies at the price of his own heart's blood." Amazing. None are forgotten, and all Jesus reaches out to with a heart of love. And then on to Peter, of course. Peter slaps Jesus in the face too, but he sort of slaps himself in the face, does Peter. Later Jesus was to ask, "Do you love me? Do you love me?" And of course Peter does. But what are his words? Let's hear them bluntly 3 times. "I don't know what you're talking about," says Peter to the servant girl. "I don't even know the man," he said. And the 3rd time, "A curse on me if I'm lying. I don't know the man." And immediately the cock crowed. You see, Peter did love him, but he was sick in the stomach. As you hear those words, have you ever been that sick in the stomach at letting somebody down? "I couldn't do it," Peter screams at himself. The commentator writes about Peter, "Who is it that struck you?" Peter will have to answer that question too, for he is about to deliver to Jesus a slap in the face more hurtful than those outer blows, the stinging slap of betrayal. "Who is it that struck you?" When Peter goes out to weep bitterly, he thinks he knows the answer of who struck Jesus. Himself. Peter, the rock who turned out to be no more than quicksand. Peter the weak, Peter the coward, Peter the traitor. But that is not the final answer to the question, for Jesus has a better one. And Peter will only know himself as Jesus knows him when his 3 betrayals are undone by love. Peter couldn't do it, but Jesus can. He knows the heart. So all these different people, the forces of darkness, the hate, the violence, the letting down, the sickness, I couldn't do it, but Jesus can. And at the heart of this is the Son of Man who came on Palm Sunday, who comes in a kingdom of love and peace and justice, who had to go to the cross that this kingdom may come on earth as it is in heaven, as he taught us to pray. So may the Lord be with you, especially this Holy Week. Amen.